Welcome back to Sleepy Science History. I'm glad you're here again, ready to drift with me into questions that don't quite have answers, the kinds of questions that hum softly at the edges of thought. Tonight, let's settle into the great mystery. Is the universe really infinite? I sometimes wonder, when you step outside at night and look up, do you ever feel that tug, that quiet pull of something larger than comprehension? The stars don't speak, but they whisper through their silence. They whisper, "How far does this go?" And as you listen, lying back on the grass or peeking through a window, you might catch yourself wondering too. Is there a place where it all stops? Or does the cosmos continue without end, like a story that refuses to close its book? Let's wander together. I won't hurry. The pace of the universe is slow, unbothered. We can afford to match it. You see, infinity is one of those ideas that hides behind ordinary words, waiting until we really think about it. Mathematicians will tell you that infinity is not a number. It's more like an idea, a horizon line that we can point to but never reach. You can count 1, 2, 3, 1,000, 1,000,000, but no matter how far you count, infinity is still further along, quietly watching. Now imagine that same concept stretched across space itself. Every time you think you've gone far enough, there's always more. Does that comfort you, or does it make you dizzy? When I was younger, I used to imagine the universe like a giant snow globe, a round, shimmering shell holding everything. Stars, galaxies, all the light we see. If you shake it, stars would twinkle like glitter. But then I'd ask myself, what's outside the glass? If there is an edge, what presses against it? Nothing? And if there's nothing, what does nothing even look like? Try picturing it. Can you? Or does your mind immediately paint it black, as if darkness were the same as emptiness? Astronomers, of course, try to answer with data, with telescopes peering deep into the night. They've mapped galaxies stretching billions of light years away. And still, the deeper they look, the more galaxies they find, like footprints leading off into mist. So they ask, is the universe infinite or just very, very big? If it is finite, perhaps it bends back on itself like the surface of a sphere. You could travel in one direction forever and eventually end up where you began, like an ant walking endlessly around a globe. But even that explanation makes me pause. If the universe curves, what is it curving into? Can something curve without an outside to curve into? It's the sort of question that can tie your thoughts in knots, and maybe that's okay. Knots can be beautiful too. Sometimes I like to think of infinity as a mirror. If the universe is endless, then out there, somewhere, might be another version of you. Another person with your face, your laughter, your favorite morning drink. Only perhaps tonight, instead of listening to me, they're staring at the moon in silence, or dozing in bed, or writing down their own thoughts about infinity. Isn't that a strange comfort, to imagine you're never quite alone? But then again, do we need other versions of ourselves to feel less alone? Isn't it enough to stand here, right now, knowing the atoms in your body were once part of stars that exploded long before humans even existed? The universe is already inside you. Every breath you take carries molecules recycled from ancient worlds, ancient skies. In a way, you're infinite already. Let me ask you, when you hear the word infinity, do you imagine something peaceful, like an endless ocean? Or does it feel unsettling, like falling without end? Maybe it's both. Perhaps infinity is less about distance and more about perspective. A child staring up at the night might feel infinite possibility in a single cluster of stars. A scientist peering through a telescope might see the same cluster as a tiny fraction of a map that refuses to stop unfolding. And still, our minds crave edges. We like beginnings and endings. We like doors that close, books that finish, puzzles that complete. An infinite universe denies us that closure. Says, no matter how far you go, there's more waiting. Imagine hiking up a mountain, reaching the top and realizing there's another peak beyond, and another and another. Would you keep climbing? Or would you sit down and admire the view you already have? I sometimes picture the universe like a library, shelves upon shelves, each stacked with books that hold stories of stars, galaxies, entire civilizations. If the library is infinite, then every story that could ever be written already exists somewhere on those shelves. That means there's a book where you're reading this sentence right now, and another where you never pressed play, and another where you chose to listen while sitting on the beach, waves touching your toes. Does that thought stretch your imagination? Or does it simply make you smile at the oddness of possibility? Astronomy offers theories, of course. The observable universe, the part we can actually see, is about 93 billion light-years across. Beyond that horizon, we can't know. Not yet. Light hasn't had enough time to reach us. It's like living in a valley surrounded by fog. You can see the hills nearby, but not the mountains beyond. Are they there? Probably. How far do they stretch? No one knows. And isn't that mystery itself a kind of beauty? Even if the universe is finite, it is still larger than anything we can truly hold in our minds. Billions of galaxies, each with billions of stars, each with who knows how many planets, each planet with its own possibilities. Infinity, in practice, doesn't need to be literal. Sometimes more than enough feels infinite. Have you ever looked at the night sky, seen a scattering of stars, and felt it was already too much to take in? That feeling, that overwhelm, is infinity living inside your chest. And if the universe does go on forever, then perhaps infinity is not about distance at all. Maybe it's about repetition, patterns repeating endlessly. Stars forming, burning, collapsing, and forming again. Galaxies colliding, merging, spinning, forever. Maybe infinity is less like a line and more like a cycle, a wheel that never stops turning. Does that feel different to you? Less like falling, more like breathing? Let me share something I find calming. Imagine standing by the ocean at night. The waves roll in, one after another, steady, unhurried. You could stand there for hours, days, years, the waves would not stop. Infinity is like that. Not frantic, not overwhelming. Just steady. Just endless. Each wave unique, yet part of the same rhythm. The sea doesn't need an edge to be beautiful. Neither does the universe. So perhaps the better question isn't, is the universe infinite? But, what does it mean for us to imagine infinity? Maybe infinity is a mirror that shows us our own longing for more. More time, more space, more answers. Maybe it's also a reminder that what we already have is astonishing. Because whether the cosmos ends or not, here you are, listening, alive, thinking about it at all. And that's no small thing. As we drift deeper into this thought, I want you to feel how small questions open into vast horizons. Infinity may be unreachable, but the journey toward it is gentle and worthwhile. Every night sky invites you into that journey. Quietly, without urgency. All you need to do is look up and ask, how far does this go? And so we leave the question open, floating like a lantern into the night. The stars don't hurry to answer. They never do. They only shimmer, patient, as if to say, rest here a while and wonder. What does it really mean to say the universe might have an edge? If you walked long enough, flew far enough, stretched your journey across billions of light years, would you ever reach a wall? Would you press your hand against some great barrier, cold and silent, marking the end of all things? Or would you simply keep moving, endlessly, as though space were a story without a final page? It's a question that lingers, isn't it? The human mind is so used to boundaries. Rooms have walls, oceans have shores. Even the sky, wide and blue, has an end at the horizon. But the universe resists this neatness. It refuses to offer the comfort of an edge. When you think about it too long, it almost feels like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips through your grasp no matter how tightly you close your fingers. Scientists call what we can see the observable universe. It stretches about 46 billion light-years in every direction from where we sit. That's not because the universe ends there, but because light beyond that distance hasn't had time to reach us. The cosmos has been expanding for 13.8 billion years, ever since the Big Bang, and light, no matter how fast it travels, has limits. So what lies past that horizon? The answer hides behind the curtain of distance. Imagine standing at the shore of an ocean covered in fog. You hear the waves, you know the sea continues, but you cannot see beyond a few meters. The fog is not the end of the ocean. It's only the limit of your vision. The observable universe is much the same. Beyond that fog of distance, Perhaps there are galaxies upon galaxies. Or perhaps the fabric of space itself folds back, looping into strange shapes. Could infinity be hiding in that mist, waiting patiently for us to peer further? But then comes another question. If the universe has no edge, does that mean it goes on forever? Forever is a word that tastes strange in the mouth. You can say it easily, but the mind cannot quite hold it. Forever is a hallway with no doors, a song that never ends, a heartbeat that never stops. Can you imagine walking without ever reaching a destination? At first it feels freeing, but then it can become unsettling, like floating in open water with no shore in sight. Mathematics offers a kind of map for this mystery. Numbers stretch without end, and infinity is the horizon of counting. But physical reality is not always so obedient. Stars are born and die. Galaxies collide. Black holes devour light. Time itself might have a beginning and an end. Could space be different? Could it ignore all endings and stretch endlessly outward, like a fabric that refuses to tear? Some scientists think the universe might be shaped like a sphere, not the solid kind you hold in your hand, but a four-dimensional surface that loops back on itself. If you travel far enough in one direction, you might one day return from the other side, never having crossed an edge at all. Picture an ant crawling across an orange. To the ant, the surface seems endless, though it is finite. If the universe is like that, it may be both bound and boundless, limited in size, yet endless in travel. But if it is infinite, the implications grow stranger still. If there is no limit, then every possible arrangement of matter must exist somewhere. Out there, beyond imagination, lies another Earth, another solar system, another version of you sitting quietly, listening to these same words. Perhaps one detail is different. Maybe in that universe you chose a different path in life, or laughed at something you did not laugh at here. Infinity has room for every variation. Does that comfort you, or unsettle you? It almost feels like a cosmic hall of mirrors. Stand in a mirrored room, and you see your reflection stretch into the distance, repeating endlessly. Each reflection is slightly further away, slightly dimmer, but they are all you. Infinity is like that. A universe of mirrors where every possibility gleams, no matter how improbable. And yet, even as we imagine endless space, we must ask, can infinity exist in the physical world? Or is it only an idea we invented, a dream that fits better in mathematics than in reality? If the universe is infinite, then its story has no ending. If it is finite, then what lies beyond its edge? Nothing? Something else? Another universe? Our language stumbles when it tries to describe nothing. We paint it black in our minds, but true nothing would not even have darkness. It would not have space or time, or even the silence of absence. It would simply not be. Can you imagine such a thing? I can't, not fully. Perhaps no one can. Sometimes I wonder if infinity is less about distance and more about depth. Look at a drop of water under a microscope, and suddenly a whole world appears. Creatures swimming, shapes moving, life unfolding in a space you thought was simple. The drop has edges, yes, but its inner world feels endless. Could the universe be the same? A finite whole, with infinite depth hidden inside? And what about time? If space might be infinite, could time also stretch without end? Or did it begin with the Big Bang, a starting line for all that exists? If time began, might it also end? To think of time stopping is as unsettling as thinking of space ending. You close your eyes and try to picture it, but your mind wants to keep ticking forward, second after second. To imagine no next moment feels like stepping off the map of thought. There are theories of multiverses too. Perhaps our universe is only one bubble in a frothy sea of universes. Some may be small, others vast, each with its own laws of physics, its own possibilities. Our infinity, then, would be part of a larger infinity, an infinite collection of finite pieces, like foam on the crest of a wave, each bubble round and shimmering, yet part of something larger still. Do you ever feel, when you hear these ideas, a mix of wonder and fatigue? Wonder at the vastness, fatigue at the limits of what we can truly grasp. It is like staring into the night sky, Beautiful, yes, but also overwhelming. Perhaps the right response is not to solve the mystery, but to let it be. To sit with it the way you sit with a friend, not needing to fill every silence with words. I sometimes think the universe asks us to do just that, to be still, to look up, and to wonder without rushing to answers. Infinity is patient. It has all the time in the world. It does not need us to solve it quickly. So where does that leave us? Here, on a tiny planet orbiting a modest star, floating in one galaxy among billions. Our lives are brief sparks compared to cosmic time. And yet, we carry the ability to ask these questions. Isn't that extraordinary? The universe may or may not be infinite, but the human mind can imagine it. In a sense, that imagination itself is our infinity. When you close your eyes tonight, try this. Picture yourself walking. Ahead of you is a road stretching into the horizon. No matter how far you walk, the road continues. Each step is quiet, steady, unhurried. You do not need to reach the end because the walking itself is enough. That road is the universe. That road is infinity. And you are already on it. Perhaps the real gift of wondering about infinity is not in finding an answer, but in what the wondering does to us. It slows us down. It humbles us. It reminds us that the universe is larger than our daily worries, yet somehow still invites us to belong. Infinity is not a thing to conquer, but a space to rest in. And maybe that's the most peaceful truth of all. Whether the universe is finite or infinite, it holds us within it, cradled like stars in a night sky that will outlast us, yet still makes room for us. You don't have to solve it. You only have to gaze at it, breathe with it, and let its mystery rock you gently into quiet awe. What is the shape of everything? When you close your eyes and try to imagine the universe, does it unfold as a flat canvas stretching endlessly, or does it curve like a sphere, folding back on itself in secret loops? If there is a shape, who drew it? And if there is none, if it's shapeless and boundless, how does one picture something that refuses all pictures? Shapes are everywhere in our daily lives. We live inside squares and rectangles, walk along streets drawn in lines, watch circles ripple outward in water. Every object we know has a form, an outline, a limit. So naturally, when we turn our gaze outward and ask what the universe looks like, our minds reach for the same tools. Edges, curves, boundaries. But space itself is not so willing to fit neatly into the toolbox of ordinary thought. Some say the universe might be flat. Not flat like paper, but flat in the sense that parallel lines will never meet. Imagine you're drawing two railroad tracks across an endless plain. No matter how far you extend them, they remain side by side, never crossing. That is what flat means in the language of cosmology. Measurements of ancient light, the afterglow of the Big Bang, suggest our universe is astonishingly close to flat. But close is not the same as exact. Could it be slightly curved, hiding its true nature from us until we learn how to measure with greater precision? Others suggest it curves like a saddle. Picture the leather seat of a horse. Dip down in the middle, rise up at the sides, a space that folds inward and outward at once. A universe shaped this way would spread forever too, but in a more complex geometry, as if space itself were balancing on the edge of two different fates. Or perhaps it is closed like the surface of a ball. If you travel in one direction long enough, you return to where you began, never having touched an edge. It feels paradoxical, doesn't it? To say something has no edge, yet is not infinite. But that's what a closed universe would be. Finite, yet without a boundary. Like living on Earth, you can walk in one direction endlessly, but you'll never fall off the side. Do you notice how each shape carries a different feeling? The flat universe feels open, unfinished, like a page waiting for words. The saddle-shaped universe feels dynamic, stretched, uneasy. The closed universe feels contained, safe, like a circle enclosing all that exists. Which one comforts you? Which one stirs unease? And yet, beyond these shapes lies another possibility. Perhaps the universe has no simple shape at all. Perhaps it is a topology so strange our minds can barely touch it. Have you ever seen an M.C. Escher drawing? Staircases looping impossibly, waterfalls flowing upward? Space might have a structure just as counterintuitive, folding in dimensions we cannot perceive, twisting like an invisible origami. So, how would we ever know? Would light itself betray the pattern, bending in subtle ways across billions of light years? Here's a thought experiment. Imagine you set off in a spaceship, determined to fly forever in a straight line. Centuries pass. Stars blur by. Galaxies come and go. Would you eventually return to where you began? Or would you simply drift without end, never circling back? The answer depends on the shape of space. One answer gives you a cosmic loop. The other gives you an eternal voyage. Which would you choose? Even the smallest clue matters. When astronomers study the cosmic microwave background, the faint light left over from the birth of the universe, they see patterns, ripples frozen into space itself. These ripples act like fingerprints, hints about curvature. And those hints whisper, the universe seems flat. Not perfectly, but close enough to leave us suspended between certainty and mystery. And then comes the stranger question. If the universe is flat and infinite, what does that mean for repetition? In an infinite cosmos, the arrangement of particles cannot all be unique. Sooner or later, far beyond your reach, matter must repeat. There must be another galaxy identical to ours. Another Earth. Another you, listening to these words, perhaps in a room almost the same but with one tiny detail changed. A different picture on the wall, a clock ticking slightly out of rhythm. Infinity demands repetition, like a song that eventually loops back to familiar notes. Does that comfort you or unsettle you? To think that somewhere, beyond horizons you will never cross, another version of you carries on your story in parallel. Infinity is not only distance, it is recurrence. It is a hall of mirrors stretching forever, each reflection slightly altered, yet undeniably yours. But if the universe is closed, finite, then repetition is not inevitable. Instead, there is wholeness. One single story, vast but contained, looping back on itself. You could imagine it like a pearl. Smooth, self-enclosed, luminous from within. A universe like that might feel less dizzying, more intimate. But then comes the question. Contained within what? If the universe is a sphere, what surrounds the sphere? Or does the question itself dissolve? Because a closed universe has no outside. Try to picture a fish born in the ocean. It swims for years, never reaching a shore. It does not even know what shore means. To the fish, the ocean is all that exists. If we ask it, what lies beyond the sea? It cannot answer, because it cannot imagine beyond. Could we be like that fish, asking about the outside of space when outside has no meaning? Sometimes I think the real challenge is not the universe itself, but our words. Words like edge, outside, and infinite come from human experience. They were shaped to describe rivers and mountains, houses and rooms. To use them for the cosmos is like using a candle to light an ocean. The flame helps, but it is not enough. And yet, the candle is what we have. So we keep asking, what is the shape of everything? Does it close like a circle, extend like a line, twist like a saddle, or ripple into forms our minds cannot yet hold? What does your heart prefer? A universe with edges, or a universe without? A finite home you can wrap your mind around, or an infinite expanse that humbles you into silence? Each possibility teaches something about how we see ourselves. A finite universe reminds us of limits, of boundaries, of the preciousness of a single story. An infinite universe reminds us of abundance, of endless variation, of the strange immortality of recurrence. And what about time's role in all this? If space has a shape, time may echo it. Could time loop, just as space might? Could every moment repeat, endlessly, in a cosmic cycle? The thought is dizzying. To live this life again and again, to wonder about infinity again and again, to speak these same words across an eternal loop. Would that knowledge change how you live? Would you choose differently if you knew this moment would return, not once, but forever? Or would you find peace in it, knowing that nothing is ever lost, only repeated? Sometimes, late at night, I find myself imagining the universe not as a shape, but as a song. A melody with notes that rise and fall, repeating themes, infinite variations. A flat universe is like a song with no final chord, always unresolved, stretching onward. A closed universe is like a song that loops back to its beginning, eternal but whole. Which one would you rather listen to as you drift into sleep? Maybe, in the end, the question of shape is less about physics and more about poetry. Perhaps the universe resists our labels because it is all shapes at once or none at all. Perhaps it is not a sphere or a saddle, but something so vast and strange that our language collapses under its weight. That collapse itself is humbling. It reminds us that we are small, yet capable of wonder. And maybe that is the true shape of the universe. Not geometric, not mathematical, but emotional. Takes the shape of our awe. Every time you look at the night sky and feel that hush inside you, the universe has taken form, not in equations, but in you. So tonight, as you lie back and let these questions ripple through your mind, imagine this. A road stretching into the distance, perhaps looping back, perhaps not. A sky unfolding above you, perhaps infinite, perhaps contained. Shapes without edges, edges without shapes. Infinity curling softly at the edges of thought. No answer arrives. Only silence and stars and the slow turning of galaxies, patient as ever. And isn't that enough? To sit inside the question, to let it cradle you, to feel yourself part of a mystery too large to solve, yet gentle enough to rest within. What is time to the universe? Is it a river that flows in one direction, carrying stars and galaxies along its current? Or is it a vast ocean in which all moments already exist, waiting for us to drift through them? When you look at the night sky, the light reaching your eyes is ancient, millions or even billions of years old. Are you, then, gazing into the past? Or is the past still happening, preserved somewhere, like a page in a book that never fades? Time is one of those ideas we live with every day, yet rarely stop to question. You wake, you move through the hours, you grow older, and you mark the seasons. Time seems steady, reliable, ticking in the background like a quiet metronome. But does the universe itself experience time in the way we do? Or is our sense of seconds and minutes only a trick of perception, a way for the human mind to organize change? Imagine holding a snow globe in your hand. Inside it, frozen in glass, are 1,000 little details. A house, a tree, falling flakes of white. To you, it is still yet complete. But shake it and suddenly motion appears. Could time be like that? Perhaps all of history, all of the future, is contained in the globe already, and what we call time is simply the shaking, the unfolding, one moment revealed after another. Physicists speak of space-time, the idea that space and time are not separate things, but woven together in one fabric. Move through space and you also move through time. Bend space with mass and time itself bends. This is why clocks tick differently near black holes, why astronauts orbiting Earth age just a touch slower than those on the ground. Time, it seems, is not absolute, not universal. It stretches and curves, depending on where you stand and how fast you move. Doesn't that make you pause? The very thing you thought was constant, the steady drumbeat of moments, is more like a flexible rhythm, played differently in every corner of the cosmos. And yet, you still ask, does time have an end? If the universe began with the Big Bang, did time itself begin then? What was before? Or does the very word before lose meaning when applied to the birth of time itself? It's like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question sounds simple but collapses when examined too closely. Could it be that before the Big Bang is a place language simply cannot reach? Then again, if time had a beginning, does it also have an ending? Will the cosmos one day run out of time, as a candle runs out of wax? Some theories suggest a heat death, a distant future where stars burn out, galaxies fade, and the universe grows cold and silent. In that vision, time does not stop, but it becomes empty, stripped of events, a hollow stage with no actors left. Others imagine cycles. A universe that expands, collapses, and begins again, over and over, without end. If that's true, perhaps we are only one verse in a cosmic song that repeats eternally. But let's turn the question gently toward ourselves. What is time to you? Is it the swift rush of days, the quick march of years, or is it the quiet stretch of a single evening, when the hours seem to slow and linger? Haven't you noticed how time feels different depending on your state of mind? A joyful moment passes like a bird in flight. A difficult hour drags, heavy as stone. If our perception of time can shift so easily, what does that say about its true nature? Consider dreams. In a single night, you can live through what feels like days, entire journeys unfolding behind closed eyes. Yet when you wake, only minutes may have passed. Time in dreams does not obey the clocks on your wall. Could waking life be similar, in ways we do not yet understand? Could time be more elastic, more malleable, than we ever dared to believe? Here's another question. If time stretches differently across the universe, what does now even mean? When you sit in your chair and think, this is the present, is that same present shared by a star in another galaxy, 10 billion light-years away? Or is now a local illusion, a bubble around you, unique to your place and motion? If so, then the universe might not have one shared present at all. Every observer has their own, like countless beads on a necklace, each reflecting the others but never identical. Sometimes I picture time as a vast library. Each book is a moment. The shelves stretch endlessly in both directions. You, the reader, can only hold one book at a time, flipping page by page. But all the books exist simultaneously. Past, present, future, all already written, all already there. Does that mean free will is an illusion, that we are only moving along a script? Or does it mean that within the story, our choices are still real, still ours, even if the shelves already hold the whole collection? And if all time exists at once, where does that place you? Perhaps every moment of your life is happening eternally. Your first breath, your laughter as a child, your struggles, your joys, your final moments, all still unfolding, preserved like constellations on the ceiling of eternity. You are not a line through time, but a whole, shimmering pattern, already complete. Doesn't that idea make your ordinary hours feel sacred? But maybe time is not written at all. Maybe it is being composed as you live it, note by note, like music played in real time. In that case, the universe is improvising, creating as it goes, and each moment is fresh, unrepeatable, fleeting. Both visions are beautiful. Both are haunting. Which do you find more comforting? A universe where all is already known, or one where everything is still being made? We often talk about time as if it were a thief, stealing youth, stealing opportunities, stealing life itself. But what if time is not a thief but a weaver? What if every loss, every change, is not subtraction but transformation? Threads woven into a pattern you cannot yet see. The fabric may fray, but it is still whole, still luminous. The stars themselves are proof. They burn their fuel, collapse, die, but in their death, they scatter the elements that make planets, oceans, people. Your body, your breath, your heartbeat, all gifts of time, handed down from stars that lived and died long before you. So when you think of time, do not think only of endings. Think also of beginnings. Each moment is both the end of something, the start of something else. Infinity, then, may not be in endless duration, but in the constant renewal of change. Have you ever sat by a river and listened to it flow? The water you see is always moving, always replaced, yet the river remains. That is time. Always flowing, always gone, yet somehow always here. You cannot step into the same river twice, the philosopher said, and yet the river endures. So do you. And what of eternity? Is eternity simply endless time, or is it something outside of time altogether? When you hear the word, do you imagine a clock ticking forever, or do you imagine silence? Timelessness, a state where moments no longer pass. Could eternity be less like an infinite road and more like stepping outside the road altogether, into a stillness where beginning and end dissolve? These questions do not need answers. They are lanterns to walk with, casting light as you wander. To wonder about time is to feel the heartbeat of the universe within your own chest, slow and steady, fragile yet vast. You are a moment, yes, but you are also part of the great flow, inseparable from the current. So tonight, when the clock ticks softly on your wall, let it remind you of both things: the smallness of human hours and the immensity of cosmic time. Let it remind you that you are both fleeting and eternal. A spark, yes, but also part of the fire that has burned since the first stars lit the darkness. Time is not only what passes, it is also what connects, past to present, present to future, you to the universe, you to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that connection is what infinity truly means. What if, at this very moment, another version of you is sitting somewhere else, reading, breathing, wondering, but in a world just slightly different from this one? Could there be another Earth where history turned on a different decision, a single breath, a subtle chance? If the universe is infinite, might it not be lonely, but instead endlessly branching, weaving countless variations of reality, each as real as the one you hold in your hands now? The thought of parallel universes slips easily into imagination, doesn't it? It feels like a story, like the kind of tale children invent at night. What if I lived somewhere else? What if another me made a different choice? And yet scientists, with their equations and models, find themselves drawn to the same question. Could the laws of physics themselves permit not only this universe but many, a vast multiverse sprawling in directions we cannot yet see? But let's step gently. First, what does parallel universe even mean? You might picture worlds floating side by side, like bubbles in a cosmic sea, each one sealed, each one separate. Or perhaps you imagine layers stacked atop one another, thin as paper, infinite sheets sliding silently in the dark. The truth may be stranger than either image. One idea arises from quantum mechanics, the strange and delicate science of the very small. At that scale, particles behave not like solid pebbles but like probabilities, clouds of possibility. An electron might spin this way or that, and until it is observed, both are real, both alive in the fabric of chance. Some scientists suggest that when a decision occurs, reality itself splits. One world takes one path, another world takes the other, both continuing onward, both real. If that is true, then each choice you make is echoed in another world. Somewhere you turned left instead of right. Somewhere you spoke instead of staying silent. Somewhere you lived a life almost the same as this one, but not quite. Can you feel the weight of that? Every moment multiplying, like a tree whose branches grow endlessly outward. Each leaf a universe, each leaf a story. But do not let the thought overwhelm you. Consider instead how it shifts perspective. If there are countless versions of you, then no single path holds all the weight. Each possibility is lived somewhere, somehow. This life, the one you hold, is still precious, still unique, but not fragile in the way it once seemed. There is a kind of quiet comfort in knowing that reality may be more generous than we think. Other visions of the multiverse come not from quantum theory but from cosmology, the study of the whole. If space truly stretches infinitely, then the arrangement of matter must eventually repeat. There are only so many ways to combine particles before the patterns return. Far, far beyond your reach, another Earth may exist, identical in every detail, with another version of you living the same moment. And farther still, another Earth almost the same but slightly altered. A star in a different position, a tree missing from a hill, a word changed in this very sentence. Infinity demands that every possibility occurs, again and again, scattered like seeds across the endless field of space. And then there is the idea of bubble universes. Some theories of cosmic inflation, the rapid expansion of space after the Big Bang, suggest that inflation did not stop everywhere at once. Instead, it may continue in distant regions, forever spawning new bubbles, each one a universe with its own laws of physics. Our universe, then, would be only one bubble in a foaming sea, each bubble shimmering with its own stars, its own galaxies, its own fates. Have you ever blown soap bubbles in the sunlight? Watched them drift, collide, merge, or burst? Imagine each of those bubbles as a universe, drifting in a larger space we cannot see. Some touch, leaving faint scars where they meet. Some remain forever apart, unaware of one another. And somewhere, we drift too, inside our fragile bubble of stars and light. But then comes the question, if these parallel worlds exist, could we ever reach them? Or are they forever sealed, separated by distances or dimensions we cannot cross? The thought of them is like standing at a window and seeing shadows move just beyond the glass, close yet unreachable. Would it matter if we could never touch them? Or is the very possibility of their existence enough to change the way we see this world? Here's something to wonder. In a universe of infinite possibilities, could there be worlds where the laws of physics themselves are different? Worlds with no gravity, no stars, no atoms at all? Worlds where time flows backward? Or where space folds into impossible shapes? Or does the multiverse only permit variations close to our own, slight shifts in familiar patterns? Which vision feels more mysterious to you? A multiverse of near twins? Or a multiverse of the unimaginable? And what of meaning? If every possibility is realized somewhere, does that make this moment less important? Or more? Think of a painting. A single stroke of color might be repeated on another canvas, and another, yet the one before you remains singular, alive with its own presence. Perhaps our lives are the same, repeated in infinite ways, yet still glowing with their own immediacy, their own worth. Sometimes, when I think of parallel universes, I imagine them as reflections on water. Each ripple bends the image, each wave shifts it, yet all arise from the same lake. You stand at the shore, watching countless versions of the sky shimmer across the surface. Which is the true reflection? All of them or none? And perhaps you ask, if there are other versions of me, are they truly me? If another you chose differently, lived differently, became someone else entirely, at what point does it cease to be you? Is identity a single thread, or a tapestry of all possible threads? Maybe both. Maybe the self is not a line but a constellation, each star a different path, together forming the shape of who you are. This thought can be dizzying, but let it also be freeing. You do not have to carry every possibility in this life, because the universe may carry them for you. You are already part of a greater branching, a cosmic tree that holds more lives than you can count. And yet, this life, the one unfolding here, the one where you breathe these words, is irreplaceable. If all this is true, then dreams take on a new meaning. Could they be glimpses, fleeting and strange, of other branches? A dream of walking through a city you've never visited, speaking to someone you've never met. Could that be the echo of another you, living another life? Science does not say so, but imagination is allowed to wonder. The question lingers, why do we long for parallel worlds at all? Perhaps it is because we sense the fragility of choice. One decision, one chance, and our lives unfold one way instead of another. The idea of many worlds softens that fragility. It whispers, nothing is lost. Every path is taken somewhere. And yet, there is beauty in limits too. If this is the only world, then each choice matters all the more. Meaning comes not from abundance, but from rarity. Perhaps that is the real paradox. Infinity comforts us, but finiteness sharpens us. Which would you rather hold? Endless possibility or singular, irreplaceable meaning? The universe offers no clear answer. It only offers the stars, spread wide and silent, and the human mind that dares to ask. So let yourself rest in the question. Imagine bubbles drifting in a cosmic sea, mirrors stretching endlessly, branches growing outward without end. Imagine another you, another earth, another story. Smile at the possibility, and then return gently to this moment, this life, this version of you. Because whether or not the multiverse is real, this universe is real enough. And it holds you here now in its quiet hands. And maybe that is the most miraculous universe of all. What happens when you fall into a place where even light cannot escape? Is it truly the end, or could it be a doorway into something else? Something hidden, something infinite? Black holes sit in the imagination like cosmic riddles, dark mouths of space that swallow stars and time itself. But what are they, really? And why do they feel less like objects and more like questions dressed in gravity's shadow? Picture a star, enormous and burning, millions of times the size of Earth. For billions of years it blazes, holding itself up against its own weight, burning fuel in its heart. But eventually the fire dies, and when the balance tips, the the star collapses inward, folding in on itself until it becomes a point so dense, so heavy, that nothing, not even light, can break free from its grasp. What remains is invisible except for the way it bends space and time around it. That invisible remnant is what we call a black hole. But here is the question. When something falls into a black hole, does it vanish? Or does it continue, hidden beyond what we can see? Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, tossing a stone into a fog so thick you cannot hear the sound of it hitting the ground. You know it fell, but where did it go? That is the mystery of the black hole's horizon, the event horizon, the place beyond which no return is possible. And what lies past that horizon? Some say nothing, that matter is crushed into a singularity, a point of infinite density. But infinity is not something physics handles easily. Equations break down at the singularity, leaving only silence, as if the universe itself refuses to speak. Others suggest that the core may not be infinite at all, but instead a doorway, a tunnel, a bridge to somewhere else. A wormhole, perhaps, a passage not to death but to another part of the cosmos, or even another universe. Does that sound like science fiction? Perhaps. And yet, the equations allow the possibility. General relativity, the great theory of space and time, leaves room for tunnels and bridges. Whether they exist is another matter. But isn't it intriguing to think that inside what looks like the ultimate prison might also be a hidden escape route? Think of the event horizon as a line on a map. Once you cross it, the rules change. Time itself seems to behave differently. To an outside observer watching from a safe distance, you never quite fall in. You move slower and slower, your image frozen at the edge, fading into red light. But for you, the traveler, time feels ordinary. You cross the horizon without noticing anything unusual. One perspective says you never fell. The other says you did. Both are true depending on where you stand. Isn't that strange? One event, two truths, both real. And then comes the thought of information. When matter falls into a black hole, does its information, the arrangement of particles, the story of what it once was, disappear forever? If so, that would break one of the deepest principles of physics, the law that says information cannot be destroyed. This is called the information paradox, and it remains unsolved. Some suggest that the information is smeared across the event horizon itself, encoded like holograms on the surface of the black hole. Others believe it may leak back out subtly through radiation. But for now, it remains a puzzle. So ask yourself, what does it mean if the universe has secrets it refuses to share? If black holes are vaults where knowledge is hidden, does that make them cosmic destroyers or cosmic archivists? Do they erase or do they preserve? Here's another layer. Black holes are not just objects. They are sculptors. When galaxies form, black holes sit at their centers, massive and ancient, shaping the orbits of billions of stars. Our own Milky Way has one, a giant called Sagittarius A*, quiet now, but always there, a silent anchor holding the galaxy's spiral together. Without black holes, galaxies themselves might never have formed the way they did. So perhaps black holes are not monsters, but midwives, birthing structure out of collapse. But still, the singularity waits, a place where equations break, where infinity intrudes, where the known becomes unknowable. Infinity at the center of a black hole feels different than infinity stretched across space. One is vast and open. The other is compressed, crushing, silent. One makes you feel small under the stars. The other makes you feel small before an abyss. Both are humbling, but in different ways. And what if, just what if, black holes are not ends at all but beginnings? Imagine them as seeds. A star collapses, becomes a black hole, and inside its darkness, perhaps another universe begins. A whole cosmos, expanding, forming stars and galaxies of its own, invisible to us because it is contained within. If that were true, then every black hole might be a womb, birthing new realities. Our own universe might have been born inside one, nested like a pearl within a shell. Do you feel how these possibilities stretch your mind in different directions? Prison, a grave, a seed, a doorway, a mirror. The black hole is all of these at once, depending on how you choose to see it. And yet, black holes are not just distant curiosities. They are close enough to watch. Astronomers have photographed the shadow of one, captured by the Event Horizon Telescope, a glowing ring of light around a dark center, a portrait of the unseeable. When you look at that image, you are staring at something beyond human scale. Light bent around a darkness that cannot be touched. Picture of absence. Doesn't it stir something quiet inside you? Now consider this. If you fell into a black hole, what would you feel? Gravity would stretch you, pulling harder on your feet than your head, elongating you into what scientists, almost whimsically, call spaghettification. The body becomes thread-like, drawn into the singularity. It is a brutal image, but also strangely poetic. The human form stretched into infinity, like a note held forever. But from another perspective, far away, you would never be seen to cross the horizon at all. You would remain, frozen at the edge, a ghost at the doorway, forever on the threshold. So which fate is real? Do you vanish into the abyss, or remain forever just outside it? Perhaps both. Perhaps reality itself allows contradictions at the edge of a black hole. And then we return to the question of infinity. Is the singularity truly infinite, or does infinity only mark the point where our understanding ends? Maybe black holes are not infinite, but reminders that infinity lurks at the borders of knowledge, always waiting, always out of reach. It makes me wonder, do black holes hide the ultimate truth of the universe? Or are they the universe's way of reminding us that some truths are not meant to be known? They are cosmic mysteries, yes, but also cosmic lessons. They teach us humility. They remind us that even with telescopes and mathematics, even with centuries of thought, there will always be places where answers dissolve into silence. And maybe that silence is not empty. Maybe it is full of possibilities, full of beginnings, full of infinities we cannot yet name. So when you look at the stars and remember that some of them will one day collapse into black holes, don't think only of endings. Think also of transformations. Think of galaxies shaped, of mysteries preserved, of infinities hidden inside darkness. Black holes are not only destroyers, they are keepers of wonder, reminders that the universe is always deeper than we imagine. And perhaps that is why we are drawn to them, not because we understand them, but because we don't. They are the unanswered questions written in the sky, asking us to dream bigger, to wonder longer, to accept that infinity can exist in silence as well as in stars. So what happens when you fall into a black hole? Perhaps you end. Perhaps you begin. Perhaps both at once. The universe does not answer. It only offers the shadow of a circle, a silence in the middle of light, and the endless invitation to wonder. What lies beyond the farthest star we can see? If the universe stretches endlessly, why do our eyes meet a limit, a horizon drawn across the sky? And what kind of edge is it? An edge of space itself, or simply of our ability to look? When you gaze upward on a clear night, you see stars that are near by cosmic standards, most just a few hundred or thousand light years away. But telescopes reach deeper, capturing light that has traveled for billions of years, light born when the universe was young. Every photograph of a distant galaxy is a time capsule, a glimpse into the past. So when astronomers speak of the observable universe, they mean precisely that, the part of the cosmos from which light has had time to reach us since the beginning. But there is a question hiding here. If the observable universe has a boundary, does that mean the universe itself does? Or is it only a horizon, like fog that hides the road but does not end it? Imagine standing on a ship at sea. The horizon curves away, and it seems as though the world simply stops. But you know it doesn't. You trust that beyond the line, more ocean waits. The observable universe may be like that. The horizon we see is not the end of space, but the limit of our vision. Beyond it, stars and galaxies may continue, scattered like grains of sand stretching past imagination. And yet, the horizon is real. The universe is about 13.8 billion years old, which means light has only had 13.8 billion years to travel. But space has been expanding all the while, stretching the light itself, carrying galaxies farther away as it moves. The result is strange. The observable universe is much larger than 13.8 billion light-years. It spans about 93 billion light-years across. Doesn't that feel dizzying? That the very expansion of space makes the visible cosmos larger than its age would suggest. Still, the light from galaxies beyond that horizon will never reach us. They are receding too quickly, swept away by expansion faster than light can close the gap. So here we sit, surrounded by a bubble of visibility, knowing that beyond its edge lies more. More galaxies, more stars, more unknown, but forever hidden from our sight. So ask yourself, what does it mean to live inside a cosmic horizon? Is it comforting, like a room with walls, or frustrating, like a locked door you cannot open? Would you prefer to see it all, or does the very fact that mystery remains make the universe richer, more alive? The cosmic horizon is not empty. It glows faintly with relic light, the cosmic microwave background. This is the oldest light we can see, released when the universe was only about 380,000 years old, long before stars or planets formed. To look at it is to see the afterglow of creation itself, stretched thin across the sky. Beyond that glow, the universe was opaque, filled with plasma that trapped light. We cannot see further back with telescopes, no matter how powerful. In that sense, the horizon is both a beginning and a veil, the first visible moment and the boundary of sight. But here is the puzzle. Just because we cannot see beyond it, does that mean nothing exists there? Almost certainly not. The edge of the observable universe is not the edge of the universe itself. It is a limit of perspective, not of reality. The cosmos may continue far beyond, perhaps infinitely. Imagine standing at the edge of a meadow at dawn, mist rising so thick that the trees beyond are hidden. Do you believe the world stops at the mist? Or do you trust that more trees, more hills, more life waits just beyond? And yet, there is something haunting about that horizon. Beyond it, galaxies recede faster than light. They are forever lost to us, unreachable, untouchable. In that sense, the horizon is a kind of farewell. We know they exist, but they are gone from our universe of experience, like ships sailing past the curve of the Earth, never to return. Doesn't that feel strange? To live in a cosmos where most of it lies permanently beyond reach. Some scientists describe this as a cosmic event horizon. Not a physical wall, but a boundary of causality. Events beyond it will never affect us, no matter how long we wait. In a sense, our universe is already split. A visible part we can know, and an invisible part we never will. Infinity, if it exists, is largely hidden from us. But maybe that's the point. Maybe horizons are not obstacles but invitations. The horizon reminds us that there is more than we can hold, more than we can see, more than we can measure. It asks us to live with mystery, to practice wonder without ownership. Think about how horizons work on Earth. A horizon always moves as you move. Walk forward, sail onward, climb higher, and the line shifts, revealing more. But there is always another horizon waiting. No matter how far you go, you never reach the end. The cosmic horizon may be like that too. As time passes, light from more distant galaxies will reach us, expanding what we can see. New horizons will appear. But at the same time, others will slip away, carried beyond our grasp by expansion. The balance is bittersweet. Always gaining, always losing. So perhaps the horizon is less like a wall and more like a breathing edge, pulsing with time, showing us enough to wonder, but never all. And here is a deeper thought. What if the horizon is not only about distance, but about perception itself? Our eyes see only a narrow band of light. Our instruments extend that range, but still, there may be things we cannot perceive at all. What if entire layers of reality exist, not beyond distance, but beyond comprehension, universes inside universes, like patterns woven into fabric too fine for our senses to catch? What if the true horizon is not out there, but in here, in the limits of the human mind? It makes you wonder, do other beings, somewhere far away, see horizons we cannot? Are there perspectives, alien or divine, that see the whole without boundaries, the infinite without fog? Or is mystery universal, shared by all consciousness, a rule written into existence itself? Let's pause with an image. Imagine standing at a shore at night. The sea stretches into blackness, the horizon unseen. Waves roll toward you, steady and endless, their sound both calming and infinite. You cannot see where the ocean ends, if it ends at all. But you don't need to. The mystery is enough. The feeling of vastness is enough. The horizon hums softly, reminding you that the world is larger than your sight, and that is both humbling and beautiful. The cosmos works the same way. Beyond the observable lies the unobservable. Beyond knowledge lies mystery. And perhaps we are not meant to conquer it, but to dwell within it, to live as beings who wonder, who gaze, who ask. So what lies beyond the farthest star? Perhaps more stars. Perhaps nothing. Perhaps entire realms we cannot imagine. The horizon will not answer. It only sits there, silent, patient, an invitation written in the sky. And maybe that's the gift. Not answers, but questions. Not closure, but openness. Not a map with borders, but a horizon that always waits, always whispers. Look further, dream further, wonder further. Because even if infinity hides beyond the edge, you already carry infinity within, the ability to imagine what you cannot see. And that, too, is boundless. How does a universe end? Does it fade quietly into stillness, or collapse back into fire, or continue forever, stretching thinner and colder with each passing age? And if endings come even to the cosmos itself, what does that mean for us, the small beings who live inside its story? When you watch the night sky, it feels timeless. The stars shine as though they will shine forever. Galaxies swirl like slow whirlpools, patient and steady. But deep down, you know change is woven into everything. Stars are born, stars die. Galaxies collide, merge, and scatter. Nothing lasts unchanged. So it is natural to wonder, will the universe itself, the vast whole of it, one day face its own ending? One possibility is what physicists call heat death. It sounds grim, doesn't it? But it is not fire, not burning, it is the opposite. Imagine a universe where all stars have burned out, where black holes themselves have evaporated into faint radiation, where energy is spread so thin that no new structures can form. No warmth, no light, no movement. Just a cold, thin fog of particles drifting endlessly. This is entropy, the slow equalizing of all differences. No more growth, no more creation. Only silence. Can you picture it? A sky without stars. A universe without galaxies. Just darkness, forever. And yet, it is not violent. It is a gentle ending, a fading, like a candle that flickers and finally goes out. Some might find that image terrifying, but others might see in it a kind of peace. No struggle, no collapse, only quiet. A universe that lived, changed, created, and then slowly came to rest. Another possibility is the Big Crunch. In this vision, gravity eventually halts the expansion of the universe and begins to pull everything back together. Galaxies fall inward, stars collide, matter and energy rush toward a final convergence. The universe collapses into fire, into density, into a point. An ending that is also a beginning, for some theorists suggest that out of such a crunch, a new Big Bang could be born. A cycle endless, the cosmos breathing in and out across eternity. Expansion, collapse, rebirth again and again. Do you prefer this story? It is not silence, but rhythm. The universe as a heartbeat, pulsing through ages, each cycle birthing new stars, new worlds, new beings to ask the same questions. If that is true, perhaps even this very moment has happened before countless times and will happen again. You listening, wondering, existing in a pattern that loops beyond time. Does that thought comfort you or unsettle you? And then there is the big rip. Expansion does not slow. It accelerates. Dark energy, the mysterious force driving galaxies apart, grows stronger. Galaxies drift away, then stars, then solar systems, then planets. Expansion pulls at smaller and smaller scales, until even atoms cannot hold together. Space itself tears apart, every bond undone. It is the most violent vision, a cosmos unraveling thread by thread. Can you imagine sitting under a sky where the stars slowly vanish, one by one, not because they die, but because they are carried away, faster and faster, until nothing remains but emptiness? A loneliness so complete that even atoms cannot endure. This ending is not gentle. It is not cyclical. It is absolute. But here's the question. Why do we even imagine endings for the universe? Why does the human mind insist on finding closures, final chapters, ultimate fates? Perhaps it is because we see endings all around us. Lives end. Stories end. Days end. So we project that rhythm onto the cosmos. But maybe the universe does not need an ending. Maybe expansion will continue forever, endlessly, galaxies moving further apart, stars burning out, black holes evaporating, yet no final curtain falling, just a long, slow fading into quiet eternity. Would that be so different from our own lives? Each of us fades, yes, but the atoms we are made of continue, scattered, transformed, woven into new forms. In that sense, perhaps the universe too never truly ends. It only changes endlessly. Think of it like seasons. Winter feels like an ending, but it is not. It is part of a cycle leading to spring, to summer, to autumn, and back again. Could the cosmos also have its seasons? Vast ages we cannot measure, but repeating nonetheless? Some thinkers even suggest that there is no end at all, because time itself may not be infinite. What if time is not a river flowing forever, but a circle or even a spiral? What if the universe is already complete, every beginning and ending folded together, like the pages of a book that exists all at once? In that case, the universe does not end, it simply is. Eternal, not because it lasts forever, but because it exists outside the need for forever. But let's step closer to ourselves. What does it mean for you, here and now, to think about the universe's fate? Does it make your daily concerns feel smaller, or does it make your moments feel more precious? If everything ends, does that diminish its value or heighten it? When you know a sunset will fade, does it make you watch more carefully, savor the colors more deeply? Perhaps the same is true of existence itself. And perhaps we should not think of the universe's end as loss at all, but as transformation. Stars die, yes, but in their death they scatter the elements that form planets, oceans, life. Galaxies collide, yes, but in their collision new stars are born. Even black holes, once thought eternal, slowly radiate away, returning their energy to space. Endings are beginnings wearing another name. So ask yourself, if the universe must face its own transformation one day, what role do you play in it now? You are made of stars. Your body is the product of billions of years of cosmic change. Your thoughts, your breath, your heartbeat. All threads in a tapestry the universe has been weaving since its birth. You are not separate from its fate. You are part of it, a small but luminous fragment of its story. And that, too, is infinite in its own way. Perhaps the real fate of the universe is not something to fear, but something to accept with awe. Heat, death, crunch, rip, or endless expansion. Each is a path, a story, a vision of what could be. But whatever the cosmos becomes, you were here, inside it, alive long enough to wonder. And maybe that wondering itself is eternal, echoing somewhere, preserved in the fabric of what is and what will be. So how does a universe end? Quietly, violently, rhythmically, or not at all? The truth may remain beyond our reach, like a horizon we cannot cross. But maybe the answer is less important than the asking. To wonder about the universe's fate is to feel its vastness, to place yourself inside its mystery, to recognize that you are a moment of the infinite aware of itself. And that is enough. What is eternity? Is it time stretched without end, a line that never stops, or is it something different altogether? A state beyond time where beginnings and endings no longer apply. When you close your eyes and try to imagine forever, do you see a clock ticking endlessly, or do you feel a silence so deep that time itself dissolves? The human mind struggles with eternity. We measure life in minutes, hours, days. We mark birthdays, we count years, we hold calendars and clocks close to us, as if they were anchors. To us, time is always moving, always carrying us forward. But eternity asks us to picture something that is not moving at all, something that simply is. And that is not easy. Consider a circle. It has no beginning, no end. You can start anywhere, walk around it, and return to where you began. The circle is complete, whole, without edges. Could eternity be like that? Not a line, but a loop where everything is contained at once. If so, then perhaps every moment of your life, every moment of the universe, is already part of a pattern that is whole and unbroken. Nothing lost, nothing missing. But then again, maybe eternity is not about shape at all. Maybe it is about stillness. Imagine sitting beside a lake at dawn. The water is perfectly calm, the surface unbroken. For a moment, time seems to stop. You are not in the past or the future, you are simply there, in the stillness. Could eternity be like that? Not endless motion, but timeless presence? Religions have long spoken of eternity, but often in different ways. Some see it as everlasting life, time without end. Others see it as a timeless state, beyond change, beyond becoming. Both visions are attempts to grasp what lies beyond the limits of human years. Which one do you lean toward? Does eternity comfort you more as an infinite continuation, or as a timeless completeness? Physics, too, brushes against these ideas. If space-time is a fabric, as Einstein suggested, then perhaps the past, present, and future all coexist, stitched together like threads in a single tapestry. From our perspective, we move through the fabric, experiencing one moment after another. But from a higher view, perhaps all the moments already exist, eternally present. In that case, eternity is not about going on forever. It is about all times being equally real. You are already eternal, because every moment of your life is preserved, woven into the universe. Does that idea make you pause? To think that somewhere, in the fabric of space-time, the child you once were still exists, laughing, running, alive forever? And the future you, the one who has not yet come to be, is already there, waiting, existing just as vividly? Perhaps eternity is not elsewhere. Perhaps it is simply the universe holding all moments at once. But what if eternity is even stranger? What if time itself is only a construct of perception, a way for consciousness to make sense of change? Some philosophers have wondered if eternity is not something out there, but something in here, within awareness itself. In dreams, time bends, expands, contracts. A few minutes of sleep can feel like days of experience. Could waking life be just another kind of dream, where time is only one way of seeing? If so, then eternity might be the reality beneath the dream. Not hours passing, but being itself without measure. It makes you wonder, would you even want eternity as endless time? Imagine living forever, moment after moment, never stopping. At first, the idea might feel comforting. More days to live, more time to love, more chances to see the stars. But stretch it further. Imagine centuries passing, then millennia, then eons. Would meaning fade when nothing could ever be lost? Would joy lose its sweetness if it could never end? Perhaps eternity as endless duration is less a gift and more a weight. And yet, eternity as timelessness feels different. It does not stretch, it simply holds. It is not about more time, but about being beyond time. It is not about never ending, but about never needing to begin or end at all. It is presence, pure and still, like the quiet between heartbeats. Could it be that eternity is not what happens after time, but what has always been here, waiting for us to notice? Think of music. A song exists in time, it has a beginning, middle, and end. But the beauty of music is not just in its length. It is in the way it makes you feel while it plays. Eternity might be less like listening to a song that never stops and more like hearing a single perfect note held forever, a sound outside of time. Or think of love. Does love exist only in time, only in the passing of days? Or does it carry a timeless quality, a presence that feels eternal even in brief moments? A look, a touch, a word can feel like forever condensed into an instant. Maybe eternity hides in such moments, not as endless extension, but as depth, an infinite well inside the smallest drop. And what about the cosmos itself? If the universe began with the Big Bang, Does that mean eternity is broken? Or does it mean that eternity is the canvas on which even beginnings and endings unfold? Perhaps eternity is not a part of the universe, but the stage upon which the universe dances. A stage that does not change, does not move, but holds every act of the cosmic play. Do you feel how eternity shifts depending on how you look at it? Endless time, timeless stillness, infinite presence, eternal cycles. Each is different, yet each points toward something larger than words can capture. But here is a gentle question. Do we need to understand eternity, or only to sense it? Perhaps eternity is not for solving, but for feeling. Perhaps it is already woven into our lives, in the moments where time loosens its grip. Have you ever lost yourself in watching waves on the shore, or clouds drifting, or fire crackling? Minutes pass, yet you do not notice. In such moments, you touch eternity, not because time has stopped, but because you have stepped outside of counting. You have entered presence. And perhaps death, too, is not an ending but a return to such presence. Not endless time, but timelessness. Not forever as duration, but forever as wholeness. The idea may frighten or soothe, depending on how you hold it. But either way, it invites us to see eternity not as far away, but as close as breath. So what is eternity? A line without end, a circle without beginning, a presence without measure. It is all of these and none. Words fall short, but wonder stretches beyond them. Perhaps eternity is the mystery itself, always beyond reach, always inviting us to look, to ask, to imagine. And maybe that is enough. Because whether eternity is infinite time or timeless presence, whether it holds us after death or within every moment, it teaches us something here and now. Life is precious. Each moment is luminous. Each second carries depth beyond counting. You do not need to live forever to touch eternity. You are already part of it because you are here, existing, asking, aware. And isn't that a kind of forever? How vast is the landscape of your own mind? When you close your eyes, where do your thoughts go? Do they wander through memories like winding corridors? Or do they open into fields so wide they feel endless? Could it be that infinity is not only out there, in stars and galaxies, but also in here, in the quiet chambers of awareness? We often think of the brain as something finite, a fragile organ with limits. And it is, in one sense. It weighs only a few pounds, it rests inside bone, it needs sleep and nourishment. Yet within that small space, entire worlds arise. Dreams, ideas, memories, visions. How many thoughts have you had in your life? How many possibilities has your mind imagined? And how many more remain, waiting, uncounted, beyond reach? Consider memory. You carry within you the faces of people you love, the places you have walked, the voices of those who once spoke to you. Some memories are sharp, vivid as photographs. Others are blurred, softened with time, yet still alive. Each one is a universe of its own, complete with sights, sounds, feelings. Do they vanish when you are not thinking of them? Or do they remain, quietly folded within you, waiting for recall, like stars hidden behind daylight? And if memory holds so much, is there any true end to it? Neuroscientists say the brain has remarkable capacity, far beyond what most of us ever use. Some even say that every moment leaves a trace, even if faint, even if forgotten. If that is true, then you are a library beyond measure, shelves upon shelves filled with the story of your life. Could that library be infinite, not in size, but in depth? But memory is not just storage. It is also transformation. Each time you recall an event, you reshape it, weaving it anew. Memories are not fixed like stones. They are fluid, living, shifting with each act of remembering. So the past itself is not one thing, but many, branching and overlapping like rivers. Doesn't that feel infinite in its own way? Each moment not only preserved, but reborn, again and again, in countless variations. And then there are dreams. Every night, your mind creates whole worlds. Cities, oceans, faces, voices. Entire universes bloom behind closed eyes, woven in seconds. Most vanish upon waking, But does that make them less real? For a time, they existed. They were lived. They were experienced. How many universes has your mind already created in sleep? Hundreds? Thousands? Infinity, spread across lifetimes of nights. Even in waking life, the imagination stretches beyond all boundaries. You can picture things that do not exist. You can imagine worlds unlike this one, futures that have not happened, histories that never were. Within thought, you can fly, you can build, you can travel galaxies in an instant. No telescope needed, no spaceship required. The cosmos outside may be infinite, but the cosmos inside mirrors it, reflecting endless possibilities in the quiet theater of the mind. And what about awareness itself? Beyond thoughts, beyond memories, there is simply the fact of being aware. The feeling of I am. Where does that awareness begin? Where does it end? Can you point to it, measure it, weigh it? Or is it itself a kind of boundless presence, infinite not in content, but in nature? Some traditions speak of consciousness as not limited to individuals, but as something greater, something universal, flowing through all beings like light through windows. Each window is unique, each frame different, but the light is the same. If that is true, then perhaps infinity is not only in stars or in memories, but in the very fact of awareness itself, shared and eternal. But even if we stay with the human scale, the mind is astonishing. Language, for instance. From a small set of words, infinite sentences can be formed. From finite letters, infinite stories can be told. Right now, these words form one path, but countless other paths could have been chosen. Meaning itself is infinite in potential. Doesn't that make you pause? That with such simple tools, the mind can create endless variety? And then there is love. Where does love reside? In the heart, we say, though truly it arises in the mind, in the depths of awareness. Love for one person, for many, for the world itself, it is not something you can measure or limit. It grows, it stretches, it deepens. Could love itself be a kind of infinity? Not measured in time or space, but in depth of feeling, in the way it expands the self beyond itself. But let's return to memory, for memory is where infinity often hides most intimately. Think of a song you once loved. When you hear it again, years later, it carries not only the notes but the moment, the feelings, the atmosphere of the past. In an instant, the past returns, alive again. Memory collapses time, makes many moments present at once. That too is a form of eternity. You are never fully separated from what has been. And sometimes memory connects to something even larger. Have you ever felt a sense of recognition in a place you had never been, or in a moment that felt strangely familiar, as if remembered from elsewhere? Science may call it déjà vu. Others may call it mystery. But whatever its cause, it reminds us that memory, mind, and infinity may be more deeply entwined than we know. What, then, is the mind's horizon? If the observable universe has a limit, does the mind also? Or is it horizonless, always capable of more? Each thought leads to another. Each question opens into others. The mind is not static. It grows, it adapts, it reimagines. Like galaxies expanding, the mind expands too, endlessly exploring. Perhaps the true infinity we touch every day is not out in space, but in our own capacity to wonder. And what of forgetting? Is forgetting the opposite of infinity, or part of it? When memories fade, do they truly vanish, or do they simply return to the vastness from which they came? Perhaps forgetting is not loss, but release. A reminder that infinity is not about holding everything, but about letting things flow, come and go, endlessly. Here's something to consider. Maybe the universe is conscious of itself through us. You, thinking about infinity, are the universe thinking about itself. Your memories, your awareness, your questions, they are not separate from the cosmos. They are the cosmos. And if that is true, then the infinity within your mind is the same infinity that stretches through stars. So ask yourself, when you remember, when you dream, when you wonder, are you not already touching infinity? You may not travel across galaxies, but you travel across thought. You may not live forever, but your awareness, in each moment, is already part of something timeless. And perhaps that is the quiet truth. Infinity is not only a vast expanse above us, but a depth within us. Not only galaxies and horizons, but memories and dreams. Not only the stars, but the mind that can imagine them. So how vast is the human mind? Perhaps as vast as the universe. Perhaps vaster still because it can hold not only what is, but what could be, what never was, what might yet be imagined. The mind is a cosmos, and you are its traveler. And maybe the infinite was never far away. Maybe it was always here, waiting inside your very thoughts, whispering through memory, unfolding in imagination, shimmering in awareness. And that, too, is eternity. What does it mean to love in a universe so vast? If the cosmos stretches billions of light years, filled with countless galaxies and stars, how can a single touch, a single bond, a single heartbeat between two people matter at all? And yet it does. Doesn't it feel strange, almost miraculous, that something as infinite as the universe can be mirrored in something as personal as love? Perhaps love is the most human way of touching infinity. When you love someone, does it not feel boundless, unmeasured, larger than words or time? Even in brief moments, a glance, a hand held, a laugh shared, there is a fullness that feels eternal. How can something so fleeting carry such depth? Scientists map stars, trace galaxies, measure cosmic expansion, and speak of infinities. But you, in your daily life, know an infinity too. The infinity of connection. The way one person can hold the whole world in their smile. The way a memory of someone can last a lifetime, echoing even after they are gone. Could it be that infinity is not only in numbers and space but also in meaning? Consider memory again, but this time as love's companion. When someone you care for is far away, or even no longer alive, you still carry them. Their voice, their laughter, their presence remains. Love stretches across absence, across distance, across time. Doesn't that sound like infinity in its own right? And love is not only for people. You can love a place, a song, a book, a moment. You can love the world itself. The way light filters through trees, the way rain sounds against windows, the way stars scatter across the night. Each of these loves expands you beyond yourself, stretching the borders of who you are. Isn't that what infinity does, extend without end? But let's ask more deeply. Why does love feel infinite? Perhaps because it refuses to be contained. You can measure distance, count money, weigh objects, but can you measure love? Can you say precisely how much you care, how far your feelings extend? Love slips away from arithmetic. It overflows, resists capture. Even when it hurts, even when it fades, it leaves traces that linger beyond calculation. Think of the love between parent and child. From the first breath, the bond is vast, immeasurable. It endures through time, through struggle, through change. Or think of friendship, the kind that grows slowly, shared in laughter, in tears, in silence. Years may pass, and still the connection holds. Love in all its forms seems to stretch beyond time, holding moments together in ways memory alone cannot. And then there is the love that grows beyond individuals. Compassion, care for strangers, kindness to those you will never meet. Why does the heart stretch outward like that? Why do we feel called to love not only those close to us, but humanity itself, the earth itself, life itself? Perhaps because something in us already knows we are part of a whole. And to love the whole is to touch infinity. But love has its paradoxes. It is infinite in depth, yet fragile in expression. Can feel eternal, yet it can also end. Relationships break. People change. Loss comes. How can something that feels so endless also be so vulnerable? Perhaps that is the essence of love, to give us glimpses of infinity within the finite. To remind us that even a moment can be eternal in its depth. Consider how a single act of love can ripple outward. A kind word to one person can lift their spirit, and in turn, they may treat another with kindness, and so on, like ripples in water. Small actions spreading endlessly, unseen yet real. If infinity is repetition and continuation, then love lives it daily, quietly, without fanfare. And think of art. Why do humans create songs, paintings, poems about love? Because love feels too large to contain within silence. It demands expression, it spills into art, into stories, into music. Every song about love is an attempt to capture the infinite in sound. Every poem is a hand reaching toward eternity. Do they succeed? Not fully. But in the reaching, in the attempt, we glimpse infinity. And what of grief? Grief is the shadow of love, the echo of infinity when something finite ends. To grieve is to recognize how deeply love stretched. It hurts because it was vast. But grief too is a sign of infinity, the way love remains, even when presence is gone. In grief, you see that love was never bound to time or space alone. It endures in memory, in feeling, in the shape it left inside you. So perhaps love is our clearest mirror of infinity. It reaches beyond measurement. It endures beyond loss, connects beyond self. In a universe of stars and galaxies, it is the human way of saying, we too touch the endless. But here is a question. If the universe is infinite with endless possibilities, are there infinite versions of love too? Infinite relationships, infinite connections, played out across countless variations of existence? Somewhere, perhaps, another version of you loves differently, or loves the same person in a slightly different way. If so, then love itself is multiplied endlessly, woven into the very fabric of possibility. Does that make this love here less meaningful or infinitely more precious? Because this one is yours. And maybe that is the wonder. Love does not need infinity to be infinite. A single relationship, a single bond, carries enough depth to rival galaxies. You don't need endless time. You don't need endless space. You only need one person, one connection, one moment, and already you are touching forever. Think of two hands reaching for each other in the dark. For the rest of the world, nothing changes. Galaxies spin, stars burn, space expands. But for those two, the entire universe narrows to the touch, the warmth, the presence. That moment is infinite to them, even if measured in seconds. Love bends time the way gravity bends space. It stretches it, deepens it, makes it heavier with meaning. So what does it mean to love in a universe so vast? Perhaps it means that we carry our own infinity. The stars may stretch beyond sight, but love stretches beyond measure. The cosmos may expand without end, but love expands within us just the same. Each mirrors the other, the universe outside, the universe inside. And perhaps that is why love matters so much. Because it is not separate from the infinite. It is our way of living it, of embodying it, of bringing it close enough to touch. So when you love, know that you are already part of infinity. Not in some far-off future, not in some unreachable cosmos, but here, now, in the simple, profound act of caring for another. And maybe that is the truest infinite of all. What is infinity, truly? Is it the stars that scatter without end? Or the thoughts that bloom without limit? Or the love that stretches beyond words? If you try to hold it, it slips away, yet if you let it surround you, it feels closer than breath. Could it be that infinity is not something to reach, but something already here, within and without, waiting to be noticed? Look up at the night sky. You see only a fraction of what exists, yet already it feels endless. Galaxies, stars, planets, light traveling billions of years. The scale humbles you, dwarfs you, and yet it also lifts you. For though you are small, you are part of that immensity. The atoms in your body were born in ancient stars. The breath you take belongs to the same universe that spins galaxies. Infinity is not only above you, it is inside you. And still, the mind asks, does infinity mean endless space? Or does it mean endless time? Or does it mean something beyond both, something that cannot be contained in measurement at all? Perhaps it is not a number, not a distance, not a duration, but a mystery woven into the fabric of being. A word we invented to point toward what cannot be named. Infinity takes many shapes. It is the vastness of the cosmos, yes, but it is also the circle, endless and whole. It is the spiral, turning forever, never arriving yet never stopping. It is the horizon, always retreating as you approach. It is the song that repeats, always familiar, always new. Each metaphor captures part of it, but never the whole. Infinity is always just beyond the net of language. And yet you can feel it. In moments of awe, when time seems to pause. In moments of love, when depth overflows measure. In moments of thought, when questions open into more questions, never ending. These glimpses are enough to know infinity is not abstract. It is lived. But what does it mean to live inside infinity? If the universe is endless, are you lost in its immensity or found in its embrace? Some feel small, overwhelmed, fragile. Others feel expansive, connected, vast. Which are you? Or perhaps both at once, shifting like light and shadow. Think of a shoreline. You stand at the edge of the ocean, waves rolling in, horizons stretching wide. You cannot drink the whole sea, you cannot see all its depths. Yet you are part of it the moment you touch the water. Infinity may be the same. You do not need to grasp it fully. You only need to stand at its edge, feel its presence. Let it remind you of your place within the whole. But here is a paradox. Infinity is both out there and in here. Out there, it is galaxies, horizons, time without end. In here, it is memory, thought, imagination, love. The cosmos mirrors the mind mirrors the cosmos. Both are endless in their own way. Both hold more than can ever be counted. Doesn't that suggest they are not separate, but reflections of each other? And then comes the quietest question of all. Why does infinity matter to us? Why do we long to understand it, to name it, to imagine it? Perhaps because it calls us beyond ourselves. It reminds us that our lives, though brief, belong to something larger. It humbles us, yet it also elevates us. To wonder about infinity is to step outside the narrow corridor of daily concerns and feel the vastness that holds them all. But don't mistake infinity for distance alone. It is not only in the farthest galaxies. It is in the moment you sit with someone you love, feeling time deepen. It is in the silence between words, where presence speaks louder than sound. It is in the breath you take, connected to every tree, every ocean, every living thing. Infinity is not only far, it is near, and perhaps that is the final secret. Infinity is not something to solve, but something to rest in. It is not a riddle to conquer, but a mystery to dwell with. You don't need to see its edges to know it exists. You don't need to hold it to know you are held within it. So what is infinity? It is the cosmos unending. It is time unfolding. It is love immeasurable. It is awareness boundless. It is the question itself always leading further. Infinity is not one thing, but all things, seen from the lens of wonder. And maybe that is the most human response of all, not to solve infinity, but to let it move you, to let it slow you, humble you, open you, to feel it in your bones, in your breath, in your heart. Because when you gaze at the stars, when you remember a loved one, when you dream of possibilities, when you feel awe, you are already in infinity. You always have been. You always will be. And isn't that enough?